Hello everyone and welcome to Hutch's Garage for the third episode on my 1954 International Harvester Farmall Super MTA tractor restoration. In this episode I will remove the steering worm and shaft, radiator, and the valve cover.
We're going to use a tubing wrench. It's 5/8 right here on the right side of the tractor. Get that loose. And the fun part will be getting the thermistor part out. And I'm going to grab just the back end and kind of work it with these needle nose, pulling it back. There we go. That's loose. I'm actually going to replace this. The lens is all fogged up unless there's a way I can clean it. This is a 3/8 inch socket. And the gauge will go out the front or out the back, depending on your point of view. There we go. That part's done. What I'm doing now is removing the oil pressure gauge from the right side of the tractor. Take my 9/16 inch tubing wrench, put on this fitting, or actually ½ inch, excuse me, close to the fitting, or close to the gauge. My 7/16 tubing wrench, put it on the rear fitting here, twist them. Loosen. Alright, take that out. Instead of a 3/8 inch wrench or nut on the back of the gauges, it's a 7/16. So I'm using my 7/16 inch driver. Take the bracket off, and the gauge is out just like so. One of the things you have to do to remove the radiator is remove this steering shaft, which goes through the radiator to the front bolster sector gear. Before I start taking this off, I have to disconnect this coupling here, and I want to shove the steering wheel back. Now on this tractor, we have a power steering unit, a Balin power steering unit. There's a bracket back there that holds it in place. I need to remove the 2 bolts on each side of the Balin power unit. I've already removed one on the opposite side. I'm going to get in here, get on this bolt. Move that back out of the way. Come back around here to the universal joint. Take this bolt out. 9/16 inch wrench will take this bolt out on top and bottom. Got a ratchet on top, 9/16 on the bottom. As you can see, I've replaced this universal joint a few years ago. It's already opening up some. Don't want to lose that. That's a fine threaded bolt, by the way. There's a key in here, and this is clamped to the shaft. One thing to make it easier to get off is put a big chisel right there. Wedge it in. That should help loosen it up. Take a crowbar, shove it back. I've got softeners here. When the steering wheel comes down on the gas tank. Ugh. Come on, baby, go back. I've got most of the way off. She's gotten caught back here on this bracket. Fell back down. Let's see if that'll stay up there this time. Back over here. Don't think I need that anymore. So that's loose and it's sitting on the tank. And that's what it takes. The next thing we'll do, we'll take the nut off the front and remove the worm out through the front. It's now time to remove the steering shaft. I'm going to take this cap off. It's larger, takes a wrench larger than 1.25 inches, so I'm going to use this automotive monkey wrench. Set that down on top. Now that we've got the coupling and universal joint, all we got to do now is turn it. I say that. Alright, we reached the point. Just come out. Be careful going through this seal. Let's see, I'm going to remove the dirt back here. Or the grease. Most of it. Come through the seal. That's fairly good. And out the front we go. There you are. There's a look at the worm. I'll definitely need to replace the cotter key. I replaced this worm and the sector gear, which is a full 360-degree sector gear, back in 2018, along with the universal joint that was bad at the time. I'm under the tractor at the front end. I've got the front wheels turned at an angle to the right as hard as I can go. I'm on the left or the right side of the tractor. I'm going to show you where the radiator bolt nuts are located at. What you've got is a 11/16 inch nut on the bolt that comes from the radiator. There's a spring clip or pin or whatever you want to call it there. I'm going to try to get that out. Got that out. And then I'll take 11/16 inch socket and remove that nut on this side, and then do the same thing on the left side. I was just showing you before I removed the pin, or the spring clip that was holding that, going through the bolt. And I'm removing the nut, and behind the nut is a washer, or should be a washer, and a spring. Okay. That's not quite out. Anyway, I'm going to remove all that. Let me get you up to speed on where I am. We're getting ready to take the radiator off. And I've already taken off the gauge bracket and center bearing for the steering shaft, which was up here like this. There's only 3 bolts that hold it on, and there's one longer one at the bottom. I've also taken off the water pipe coming from the water pump to the lower part of the radiator, the lower water pipe. Also, I've taken off the drain pipe that drains the water out of the radiator. I just took it completely out because it's so long, you got to raise it higher because of that. I've got to get the radiator up to the point where I can get it where the bolts at the bottom of the radiator clear the front bolster and frame. So I'm ready to pick up the radiator now. As you can see, I got 2 bolts on each side and these hooks. You can rig it up any way you want. The radiator's not terribly heavy, but it's heavy enough it's hard to lift off. One person to lift it off, and I don't have any help. And I'm almost clear of the bolts. Okay, free. Just a little bit more. Gotta get past fan and radiator shroud. That's the biggest problem. To it. Fan shroud will now come off. So the next thing I'm going to do is take off the front bolster. I want to show you a little trick on how to move the tractor by yourself if your tractor has a belt pulley attachment, or the gear mechanism for the belt pulley. What you do is pull the clutch and tie it off with a wire. I tied it here to the torque amplifier lever right there. On the other side of the tractor, I put 2 4-inch, I believe the 4-inch, by half inch by 4-inch bolts, and put them in the PTO. Put the PTO in gear. Put the tractor in first gear. Release the brake, like so. If I want to go forward, I go this way. Then I'm right here where the brake is, and unlock the brake. Now I'm going to go backwards. Move it backwards. It's easy just like that. It's a lot easier than grabbing a hold of the tires and trying to push on them to push everything back. I tried doing that earlier. I could barely move it. So this makes it real easy. Of course, you have to have a PTO attachment, or not PTO, but a belt pulley attachment. And of course, my belt pulley is off. I may repair the paper on it. It's a paper pulley, and it needs a little bit of repair. I want to discuss a little bit about my plan for removing this engine. As you see, I've got a chain hoist here, and it follows a monorail that basically goes 90 degrees to the front to rear of the tractor. I can't get the tractor between the two posts that support this I-beam or H-beam, whatever you want to call it. So what I need to do is get this tractor set about the area that I plan to lift the engine. In other words, I need to hook onto it with the chain hoist. And I'm close to where I need to be right now. And because of this setup, I need to remove the front bolster by a different means. And I'll show that procedure when I do it. So the first thing I need to do is get this valve cover off to expose another head bolt. I plan to, if there's enough threads on the bolt, I should be able to put another nut on and put my lifting hook on here. If you look at the valve cover gasket has been pretty good as far as not leaking. There's very little oil around the head gasket on this side, and the other side's really clean. So it's done its job. So let's remove the head gasket right now. Now, well, before we do that, I want to talk about when we get the engine hooked up to the chain hoist and the tractor is centered where it needs to be. I plan to put a jack under here and take some of the weight off the front bolster when I remove it. That way, this jack will be holding the engine and the front of the transmission of the tractor prior to removing the engine. Because once I take that front bolster off, I can't move the tractor back and forth. That's why I gotta find a place to hook onto it. So the first thing to hook on, let's take that valve cover off. I get this ratchet on the right way. Okay, that came was pretty good. Now under this nut, there's a clip to hold the wiring harness that came across here. There's also a copper washer that I need to be careful and try to keep, because I'm not sure if I'll get another one when I get some of the gasket kit. Now that washer came off. There's only two nuts holding the valve cover on. I'm using a 9/16 inch ratchet wrench. Yeah, I got the copper gasket. Tap it loose. That's fairly clean inside. I don't know how long this engine's been running. Looks like there was some corrosion earlier. I think that's deposits actually, now that I'm looking at it. There's little signs of corrosion. That tells me the engine's been running cold a good bit. Around this nut right here, there's a good amount of grease and corrosion there. The valve springs they're nice and clean. Just the tops of the bolts here and that hold the valve train in are corroded. Hopefully I can get that off. This is a vent that actually removes gases from the top of the engine. It's connected here and right back here, and it goes into the air cleaner. So any vacuum from the air cleaner, it pulls off the vapors from this area of the tractor into the air cleaner. Let's get a close-up view of the valve train after it's been exposed. There you can see the vent tube. This vent tube has holes in it at various places, and like I said, it removes gases from that area. And you can see the corrosion on the nuts right there, the 4 nuts that hold the valve train in. However, there isn't much sludge up here. I was expecting a lot more sludge. And guess what? This head's been off. And the telltale sign is some red paint there on that nut. I see a little bit on that nut there also. So definitely this head has been off this tractor and been, I assume, reconditioned completely. So there you have it. Now oil goes down this tube, and oil comes from this tube right there in the center, and distributes oil to both sides. And it comes through a slot in the camshaft, and when you see the tractor running with this cover off, the oil spurts out intermittently as the engine is running.
That's all the time we have for in this episode. Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Please continue to join me for the next episode as I restore and rebuild this 1954 International Harvester Farmall Super MTA tractor.